Hello. In today's video I am carving a little statue that I like to call Praise the Sun. And for this specific sculpture, I tried to challenge myself to use as little tracing as possible. So I just started with a few simple guidelines. A swoop for the curve of the body, two lines in a Y to figure out the positioning of the arms, and a line connecting a corner of the block of wood to the swoop for the body to indicate the angle of the arms. That was basically all of my initial sketch. And I also wanted to try not carving the same way as usual. Usually I just carve one side and then the other, and I carve all of the profile and then I look at how it fits carving from the front. Here I wanted to try carving the whole thing as one all over the. So I started from top to bottom basically, instead of going side to side and figure out later. And I think I had a good result. Here, as you can see, I started by making a square section that's untouched by the rest. Those are to be the hands. Then I removed some of the corners to where I knew there wouldn't be anything anyway, and for more comfort when handling, the corners were kind of hurting my hands. And then I started figuring out the shape of the head. And for most of this project, I tried, if I needed some guidelines, to just score the wood with the tip of the blade to trace those thin lines. That way, that's more decisive and immediate than using a pencil. So it's more in line with my no tracing challenge, or minimal tracing challenge. And while carving the head, I tried to also define the arms a bit. Basically, the concept for this sculpture is a person standing beneath the sun, leaning back to have their face face the sun, and holding their arms up to the sun. That's basically the idea. And this idea came to me mostly because I was trying to figure out a proper way to make I wanted to practice making more complex shapes, and the head and arms situation with the arms raised up above the head of the person felt like a good way to force me to work in a more restricted section. So here I switched to a chisel at some point, and I switched tool a few times during this process. Sometimes it was easier with a knife, sometimes it was easier with a chisel. Here, the main reason I'm using the chisel is because the arms were in the way of the handle of the knife, which made it harder to use. But in general, it is easier to cut the wood with the knife than it is with a chisel. The chisel kind of does much smaller bites, so it's a bit more finicky. I have more and easier leverage with the knife, I guess. So I'm able to take bigger chunks out of the wood, and it feels like the project is going smoother when I'm able to use the knife because it's so much faster. I chose to have the front of the head, the face, be flat because I wanted to use my wood burner to make some details for the face. Like, I wanted to keep it simple because the most important portion of this specific carving, to me at least, is going to be the clothes that I'm going to be making for this statue. I intend to try to crochet a robe, a sundress of sort, for this sculpture, and maybe make it a wig or something like that. It's hard to say. Around here in the video is when I'm starting to worry about the shape of the body in relation to the arms. So I trace myself two very simple lines just to figure out at least where the arms will connect to the body, to allow me a better shot at succeeding. But also at that point is where I was too tired from the first stream, so the actual carving of the body went up on the second section of on the second stream of carving this, where I made some pretty large cuts for the robe. And initially I was going to carve it without tracing a circle at the bottom, but it's not worth it to try to freehand a circle with the knife, so I did end up tracing it with a pencil. It's not a perfect circle, but it's much better than if I tried to make it with a knife from the get-go. That's just to give the initial largest size of the dress. And then from the bottom, I kind of angle and push the knife into the wood from the bottom up, at which point I can kind of detach that section, that chip, from the wood, which allows the circle to become smaller and thinner as it goes up the body. I did that until I felt I had a good enough size, and every now and then I would go in the other direction to even out a bit the wood, just so that I was not bogged down by a massive hill of wood to remove with that unusual technique for me. And this went very well. I liked that step. It went exactly how I thought it would. So it's fun starting to be good enough at woodworking that I'm able to have successful plans, successful ideas of how to work the wood, so to speak. So it's nice. Also here I do cut out, when I was editing, I did cut out a lot of the secondary tracing. I did trace with a knife a few times the shape I wanted the body to have, but that felt redundant because we can't see clearly the shape of the body from how I'm carving. I wanted this statue to be a woman. And that's what I pictured because of the robe and the dress. So I did give it a feminine shape. And one of the reasons I went with a feminine shape is that it allows for more types of curves in the project, which allows me for more practice control-wise. Or at least that's how I felt at the time. And this was a step that the way you're seeing it is way accelerated. There is a portion here where I know that I would do one cut to look at it from the side, do one other cut, look at it from a different angle. I was just really, I wouldn't say wasting my time, but taking more time than it needed to be. So I try to mostly carve all sides at once, but I did focus on the front a long time because that's a critical portion of the piece. At the time, I wasn't planning on making a dress for it, so I was more worried about the smoothness of the wood. But as the project went on, near the end of it, I decided I wanted to make it a dress, just to make it flash more color-wise. The idea of making it a dress mostly came very, very near the end, when I was wood burning the details of the face. I thought to myself that I kind of wanted this statue to have hair, but I didn't know how. So I figured, well, one good way to do that would be to crochet like a circle and then attach some string to it to make kind of a wig, a yarn wig to serve as hair for this character. But I felt like just hair different would be odd. I don't know, it would feel strange to me, so if I'm going to make it a wig, I do want to make it some clothes. But because I carved it already with a shape for the dress, it kind of felt like I wouldn't say forced, but it made more sense to make it a dress rather than, I don't know, a shirt or a... I have an image in mind of what type of cloth I want to talk about. Mentioned that was another idea, but I'm really blanking on the word for it, so sorry about that. One of the hardest portion of that was of that project was really the section in front of the face, between the arms. It was hard to reach even with a chisel, so I had to finagle with it quite a lot. I do think I ended up doing a very good job. It was just longer than I thought it would. And I will mention that I did cut out a lot of the refining work I did with the body, because I focused a lot on the shape of the body, and I did a lot of passes. And I cut a lot of it out because the look before and after some of my fingering didn't really change much. And here I figured out what shape I wanted the face to be. I knew I wanted the eyes to be closed because it's looking at the sun and I don't want it to go blind. But just the normal oval closed eye felt boring to me. So instead I made the eyes curve more. It felt more peaceful, the closed eye like this. And I did add 3 dots to signify the eyelashes. And right around this moment is where I thought about the idea of making a wig for this character. Personally, I was about to do the wrap up, but I forgot that here I tried to make more details for the hands because the hands were kind of untouched, just 2 rectangles, so I tried to refine them. I started by making a curve on the top of the hand, like just remove a layer here and there, rounded the corner, and did 1 slit at the furthest point from the arms on the hands, to give it a finger. And then I removed a portion of the front just so that there's like a palm, a thumb, and then 2 fingers. But yeah, that is actually it. So thank you very much for watching. Feel free to come by whenever you want. Bye.